Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Now let us look at Australia, the seventh and the last continent. Australia is the smallest of the 7 continents. Now this continent lies entirely in the southern hemisphere, southern part of equator. It extends from 10 degrees south to 44 degrees south latitudes and from about 112 degrees east to 154 degrees east longitudes. Okay? The area this continent covers is that of 7.7 million square kilometers. Now this continent was explored by a person named Abel Tasman. Okay? Australia, very interestingly, is the only country in the world that covers the entire continent. So the continent of Australia is itself a country. There is no country in the world like this which forms the continent itself. Okay? Now because Australia is surrounded by water on all its sides, this is also called the island continent. Okay? Like I said, the continent of Australia lies towards the south of equator. Okay, so it lies in southern hemisphere, and the Tropic of Capricorn passes through the middle of the continent. The country is divided into 6 self-governing states, and it has 2 centrally administered territories. Okay, so the country is divided in such a way that it has 6 governing states which govern themselves, and there are 2 centrally administered territories. The continent of Australia has 3 major physical divisions. They are the Central Plateau, the Central Lowlands, and the Eastern Highlands. Okay, first let's look at the Western Plateau. The Western Plateau, the Central Lowlands, and the Eastern Highlands. This Western Plateau is located in the western part of Australia. This is a vast plateau. Okay, it occupies nearly 2/3 of the continent. So more than half of the area of the continent is covered by the Western Plateau. Okay. Here there are mountain ranges which are isolated. They are not connected with other ranges, mountain ranges, and these rise above the general level. Okay, most of the plateau here is desert or a semi-desert. They are almost like desert. They are flat and they are covered with small shrubs or small plants. They are made up of old rocks, similar to that of the Deccan Plateau which we have in India. Okay. Now these plateau areas in the continent of Australia are extremely rich in minerals and minerals deposits such as gold and iron ore. Let's look at the Central Lowlands, another special physical feature. Now the Central Lowlands, it is located between the Western Plateau and the Eastern Highlands. Okay, it extends from the Gulf of Carpentaria in the north across the continent to the southern shores of Australia. So from north to south, all right, it stretches that far. The average elevation of the region, the average height of this region is less than 150 meters. Okay, Lake Eyre is about 12 meters below the sea level, and it is located in this area. This area or region has very few drainage basins or very few river systems. But the major rivers that flow through this area, they are the Murray and the Darling. These are the 2 major rivers. They flow through the southern part of the Central Lowland. Okay, the rivers which flows through this area or lowland, they do not reach the sea. They cannot travel that far or that long to drain into the sea. Where do they drain? They drain into the lakes within the continent. Okay, so because of this, a great part of the central lowland, it is located around Lake Eyre. Okay, and this is called the region of inland drainage. Okay, so all the rivers, they come together and they drain into the lake, which is Lake Eyre. So this system of drainage of the river into the inland lake and not into the ocean or sea is called the inland drainage. Now this area is not an area which receives heavy rainfall. The rain here is very less, so it receives scanty rain. As a result of that, the area is very dry. Some of the water, now because the area is dry, that means there is not plenty water. Now the water which people use in this area is obtained from the artisan wells. Okay, now these artisan wells play very important role in Australia because these wells are the wells which provide water to people. These wells are wells which are dug deep into the ground and it provides water permanently. Okay. The third physical feature is the Eastern Highlands. Now these Eastern Highlands, they are located parallel to the east coast of Australia. Okay. They extend from Cape York Peninsula in the north to Tasmania in the south. Okay, they form a long belt of plateaus as they run parallel to the east coast of Australia. This long belt of plateaus is called the Great Dividing Range. They are broad and low in height in the north, towards the north. As it comes south, they are narrow but high. Okay, Mount Kosciuszko, which is 2,234 meters tall, is the highest peak in Australia, and this mountain peak is located in this Great Dividing Range. Alright. Now many peaks or mountain peaks in this range is covered with snow in the winter, not throughout the year. Okay. The highlands, they drop steeply, they have steep edges in the east towards the Pacific Ocean. Alright, and they have gentle slopes of the mountains in the west towards the central lowlands. So the eastern slopes are very steep and the western ones are gentle. Okay, most of the rivers of Australia rise in this region of Eastern Highlands, but these rivers are short, but they are swift, they are rapid, they are fast. Okay, and they form valleys, and these valleys are very important and useful. Okay, because they provide routes to the interior of the continent. They provide ways to go inside of the continent. Alright, these valleys are also used by the railways to make railways. Now off the northeast coast of Australia, little further from the northeast coast of Australia, there is a very long ridge-like feature. Okay, this is called the Great Barrier Reef. It is very popular in the world as one of the natural wonders of the world. Its natural beauty is what it is famous for. Okay, here we can find built-up corals. Corals are deposits of skeletons of tiny sea animals, and these are found in the Great Barrier Reef. This is one of the country's major and most famous tourist spot. This is where the tourists and the foreigners go to visit. Okay, this reef is more than 1900 kilometers long. Okay, and the distance, the width of it varies. It differs from 20 to 240 kilometers. Some are 30 to 240 kilometers. Some are 30 kilometers wide, others are 240 kilometers wide. Okay, so this is the physical map of Australia, and you can see here some of the physical features. So we have just learned about the Great Dividing Range here. Great Dividing Range. It runs from north to south along the eastern coast of the continent. Okay, you can also see other physical features on your own as you look into the book. So the second topic is the oceans. So in the beginning of this chapter, I told you that the Earth's surface is divided between continents and oceans. We looked at continents in great detail. Now we'll look at the oceans. So what are oceans? Oceans are huge bodies of water, right? And these oceans are separated by continents. So the oceans we can find in between the continents of Americas and Europe and Africa, continents between Europe and Asia, etc. Okay. Now, just like continents, there are also some major oceans. Okay. They are the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, and the Arctic Ocean. Okay. Now, the Pacific, Atlantic, and the Indian Ocean, they bound the Antarctica or the continent of Antarctica. Now, these three oceans collectively, they are called the Southern Ocean. Okay. So, in this map, very quickly, but carefully pay attention to it. So we already did the continents, right? We looked at North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, Australia. And we also looked at Antarctica. So the 7 continents. Now these continents are divided or separated by the ocean, right? So we have Atlantic Ocean in between the Americas and Europe and Africa. We have Pacific Ocean between the Americas and Asia and Australia. We have Indian Ocean, which is bounded by Africa, Asia, Australia, right? So all these oceans, the blue colored ones are ocean, and then the differently colored ones are the land masses, the continents, all right? Okay, so now let's look at some of the major oceans one by one. First, the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean is the largest of all the oceans. It's deeper than all the oceans in the world. Okay, the Mariana Trench, which is located in the Pacific Ocean, it is the deepest point in the world, which is deep. So the Mariana Trench is 10,994 meters deep. Okay. The Pacific Ocean is bounded by Asia and Australia on one hand and North and South Americas on the other hand. Okay. The next ocean is the Atlantic Ocean. Now the Atlantic Ocean is flanked, or it's bounded by North and South Americas on one side and Europe and Africa, the 2 continents, on the other side. Okay. The coastline of the Atlantic Ocean is longer than the coastlines of the Pacific Ocean and the Indian Ocean put together. Okay, so the Atlantic Ocean has the longest coastlines. All right. And now, because it has the longest coastlines, it has many harbors. And out of all the harbors, some of them are really good harbors and of great importance, okay, commercially, for trade, transport, etc. Now, this ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, is the busiest ocean of all the oceans in terms of commercial activities, in terms of trade activities, okay. The third ocean that we are going to talk about is the Indian Ocean. Now, Indian Ocean, interestingly, is the only ocean which is named after a country. The name of the country is India. So, from India, Indian Ocean derived its name. Now, the fact that an ocean is named after a country, this indicates how important India was in earlier times. Okay, so that is indicated how important or how its position was in the international trade during the earlier times. All right, this ocean is bounded by land on 3 sides, and these are the continents of Africa in the west, Asia in the north, and Australia in the east. The fourth ocean is the Arctic Ocean. Now, the Arctic Ocean is the Arctic Ocean surrounds the North Poles within the Arctic Circle. Okay, it extends to the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, now this Arctic Ocean is connected with the Pacific Ocean by a narrow stretch of shallow water, and that is called the Bering Strait. So Arctic Ocean and Pacific Ocean is joined or connected or bridged by Bering Strait. It is bounded by the northern coast of North America and Eurasia. Eurasia meaning Europe and Asia. Okay. The bigger part or the larger part of the Arctic Ocean is covered with thick ice for the most of the year. So it's not easy to navigate in this ocean. Okay.